Yo, it's Jared. Welcome to this chess video. In this video I'd like to show you a recent game that I had from the Doeberl Cup Major Section 2016. I had the white pieces against Badar Zoud, who is rated 1897. My rating with the white pieces is 1648, and this was from round 1. That's the Doeberl Cup Major 2016, and here we go. I opened with e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6. Now in this position, I normally play bishop c4, which is the Italian game, and yeah, this is my main weapon of choice. I don't usually play other moves. However, being the lower rated player, I have a sideline that I like to play from time to time, and I played it just to sort of hope that my opponent wouldn't know what to do, and that worked out perfectly for me. I played knight c3. So far this looks not too annoying for black. He plays knight f6. Looks like it's going to be a really boring game after knight takes d4 and bishop b4. This is the main line of the Scotch 4 knights, but this was not my intention with playing this line. I played the move knight to d5, which is the Belgrade gambit. And in this position my opponent thought for a little bit and then played a move that, alright, this move is not bad, but it's a bit weird. He played bishop c5, trying to hold on to his d4 pawn. The main move in this position is actually bishop e7, and the point of this is just to get the king castled and to not lose any time. So the main line goes bishop to f4 to put some pressure on the pawn on c7, forcing black to play d6. Then white recaptures on d4, castles, and white continues his attack on the c7 pawn with knight b5. It's a very weird line, which continues something like this. And bishop e2, knight g6, bishop g3, and bishop f6 to activate this bishop on this long diagonal. c3 to keep the pawn protected, a6, and now I've done a little bit of research on this variation, but it's actually been a long time since I've looked at this. I remember that the move knight to d4 is actually not so good for white. It looks really natural, but it actually has some concrete problems because white gets into trouble on the e-file at some point. So white actually needs to play the move knight back to the side, knight to a3, which is a bit of a weird looking move, but the idea is to come to c4 later. But this is going on a tangent, but this is the main line of this variation. We just get back to the main position. In this position, my opponent played bishop to c5. It's not a terrible move, but it's just a bit odd. I played bishop g5 now, putting a lot of pressure on the knight on f6, and reasonably quickly he played the move h6, which surprised me a lot during the game. I thought this was a really bad move. I was actually expecting, well, not really. The move which I had researched was bishop back to e7, and that's actually the move that the engines want to play, because this pin on the knight is rather annoying. And my intention now was just to go back to bishop f4, and now we've transposed back into the main line, but with the moves bishop c5 and back to e7. So this is just one move later. But he played h6, and of course I take on f6. And now I played the move knight h4. I thought this was a good move during the game, and it is a good move. However, I had a move that was much better. I could have played queen to d2, and the point behind this move is I want to castle long at some point, and after say knight e5, I can take my pawn back. d6, bishop e2, just to keep an eye on g4 so that there's no knight hops to g4. Castles and castles long, and I kind of like white. I've got some pieces that can jump into f5. Once the knight moves, I can jump into h6, so this is not looking so good for black. I think black is in trouble here. So that was a very good alternative that I had instead of knight h4, this move queen to d2. But as mentioned, I played knight h4, not a bad move. My idea is just to jump into f5 and to use the fact that he's got these weak pawns on the f-file, and the knight on f5 can't really be chased out of the position. He plays knight to e5, and I played b4. During this game I really like this move. Now he played a move which surprised me again, but it turns out that it's the best move. He played bishop f8. During the game I was expecting the move bishop b6, but after f4 it's looking pretty awkward for black. Some line like this is quite obviously not good for black. I mean, I wouldn't want to be black here. This looks awful. So this is why he went to f8, and now I recapture my pawn. So I was really liking my game here. It's looking really nice. His pawns on the king's side are a total joke, and look at this wonderful development that he's got going. And I've got my pieces out, I can move my bishop out, I can castle both sides. Probably not long, but this is just very nice for white. Okay, he played c6, chasing me out, and queen b6. This is a good move. Black is under lots of pressure, so he needs to find a way to deal with it. And right, so I have to take on b6 because my pawn on b4 is hanging. So trades and c3. He now played rook to a3 to attack my pawn on c3. King d2, d6, f4. He plays now knight to g6, and I played knight h to f5. If he plays knight to g4, we talked about this after the game, then I just take on g4 and play f5, and this bishop is in big trouble. The threat of h3 and g4 is pretty hard to meet. In fact, I don't think you can really do much about it because these pawns just hamper this bishop. So therefore he was forced to go back to g6, and now knight h to f5. Now he just took this. Yeah, I can understand the reasoning behind taking this piece. You can't really just leave this knight on f5. I'm not really sure what else he had, what other alternatives he had, but alright, so he took on f5, e takes f5, and now he really should take on f4 and just hope for the best. He played knight to e7, and this leads to big trouble. After knight takes f4, I can chase his knight around the board. Knight c4, attacking the rook, and now bishop e2. Yeah, and this knight now needs to go back to g7, and it's looking pretty miserable. And some move like a4, and yeah, white's looking great here. And black's pieces are just all tied up. But instead he went knight to e7, and now after knight to c4, yeah, black's just in big trouble. Rook hangs, and all of black's pawns hang. But in this position I actually played the wrong move. I played knight takes d6. I thought this was the most important pawn, this pawn on d6. It turns out that knight takes b6 was a much better move. Although, to be honest, I couldn't really work out why. The engine says that this is just +1 for white, but some line like this. I mean, it looks awful for black, but couldn't really work out exactly why this should be so good for white. Alright, this knight is much better than this one, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe some more research is needed, but it just looked like knight takes d6 was the more normal move. King d7, knight c4 back, knight d5, attacking my f-pawn. I covered it, b5. All this looks fairly normal. And now this is a very strange moment in the game. My plan was to play a3 and then c4. This pawn move is needed so that this b4 pawn is covered, and then I can play c4 to activate my bishop and to open up the position. And I played this move, and then immediately afterwards, after he played his next move, I recognized that my pawn's just hanging and I have no way to cover it. And I thought that I had made a big error here. However, having looked at this with an engine afterwards, it says that this weird move that I played was actually the best move. And I can't understand why, because it simply hangs a pawn. How can a move that just hangs a pawn be the best move? I don't know. I'm still trying to work out why. But I don't know, for concrete reasons it's the best move? I don't know, it just makes no sense to me, but okay. He took this pawn, rook d3, check, king f3. He gets out of the pin, bishop e2, rook to a2, and now I played rook h to d1. This was, in this position I'm still better, but I give away a large portion of my edge with this move, because now he has some tactics. He can actually play bishop takes b4 here, because my bishop is also hanging, and after the capture now he can take on e2, and this is a much better version of the game because I am one pawn down from the game. So instead he just took on e2 right away, and I thought this was a big mistake. Rook takes d6, check, king g4. It looks like my king's in trouble, but it's all good really. I have to take on f6 now because he had a checkmate threat with h5. So rook f6. And now he went rook g8, and this is probably the losing move. Rook f7, and in this position he lost on time, and I was able to win this game against a 1900 player, which I was really happy about, to have such a nice win in round one. So, but we talked about this afterwards. If king b6, just rook d7 and f6, and my pawn is just going to march down the board. So that was my game with Badar Zoud from the Doeberl Cup 2016 major section. I hope you found this game interesting, and thanks for taking the time to watch this video, and I'll see you in the next one.